Tomorrow at Martinsville Speedway, NASCAR will test a potentially game-changing change, and that is with the Goodyear tires. On short tracks, NASCAR will test rain tires starting tomorrow for potential use in competition. It will be a two-car, two-driver test, and I don't need to tell you guys how potentially important this could be. NASCAR racing in the rain on oval tracks really hasn't been done, at least in the modern era. And certainly with the amount of delays we have seen over the past few years especially, this could be something that really helps NASCAR get races in and get them in on time. There's a lot to talk about, so let's get into it. And of course, NASCAR could save themselves a lot of time and effort if they just started races at noon. Just kidding. I had to get that one in there. But yeah, this is really a potential big story here. In fact, it is a big story. I don't even want to use the word potential anymore because we saw with the Bristol dirt race, and I will give some thoughts on that later on in this video. Visibility was kind of the big thing that we always talked about when we talked about oval racing in the rain. What will the visibility be like? Will it be too dangerous to continue? And certainly at the Bristol dirt race, we saw some situations where it was too dangerous to continue. But by and large, you saw a very dusty track. You saw windshields getting pretty badly disrupted from their primary purpose, which is to see out of. And it seems like NASCAR took that, saw that Bristol wasn't a disaster. Was it great? Was it amazing to the point of this is going to be a classic for 10, 15, 20 years to come? I think the jury's still out on that one. But what NASCAR did see here, as clearly evidenced by what they're going to do tomorrow, is that Cup cars can race on ovals in mixed conditions. So let's listen to Steve O'Donnell, or at least his words, in the press release that was released by NASCAR today, because I think it gives us a sense of the goals and aspirations NASCAR has to accomplish by testing rain tires on ovals. I think at this point we're not talking about if it's actually raining, says O'Donnell. It's more so, can we get back more quickly than the track being completely dry, which is what we require now. That's part of the test, looking at where's the limit, where could we feel comfortable for the drivers. We want this to be safe, so that will be part of this test, talking to the drivers, what they are comfortable with, and then obviously talking with Goodyear and Director of Racing for Goodyear, Greg Strucker, and his team about how they feel about how the tire performs. What, if any, tweaks we could make to that tire coming out of Martinsville, so that there's a lot that we could learn here in terms of grip levels. Each track is unique, so that is something we'll have to look for at multiple venues. Now, Chris Buescher and Kyle Larson are the two drivers that are going to be competing in this test. Not competing, will complete this test. The track will be artificially wetted by NASCAR, so it's obviously not supposed to rain in Martinsville tomorrow. They'll get the hoses out, they'll get the sprinklers out, they'll wet the track down, or I guess I would assume they'll use something like they use at the dirt tracks where it just sprays water on the track. Regardless, the track is going to be wet through artificial means. Now, it should be pointed out that tomorrow, yes, is April Fool's Day. No, it's not a joke. I guess I should have said that at the beginning because I think some people may actually think that. Even NASCAR.com in their article specifically quoted O'Donnell as like saying, no, this isn't a joke. We're really doing this. Believe me, we're still going to be serious about this on April 2nd. Here's the second part of the quote from Steve O'Donnell that I felt was very interesting and I think you guys should listen to. It's too early to tell, but I would say if this worked and we felt comfortable with it, and that would be both Goodyear and reaction from the drivers and teams, this is something we would look to implement as quickly as we could, said O'Donnell. We all know that if we can deliver a race on time or shorten these delays, that would be a benefit to the entire industry. So this is quite interesting. NASCAR is not going to run these rain tires when it's actively raining. They're going to use it in two ways, it sounds like to me. The number one way is to get the racing back as quickly as possible. So if the track is wet or damp, this is a way that they can start the race on or much closer to time than it would take to dry the track off with traditional jet dryers or even the Air Titans. The second part of that, which kind of leads from the first point, is that race cars actively racing around the track will help dry the track a lot quicker, or as quickly, I guess you could say, as a jet dryer or whatever going around, so that you could start the race with wet tires, go to dry tires later as the track gets dry. Now, the question that I would have, and I think naturally comes up from that, is what strategy options will be available to the teams? Will it be similar to what we have currently on the road courses with NASCAR, which, you already know my thoughts on that, but I'll say them again just for posterity's sake. The current rules that NASCAR has with rain tires is that they can throw the yellow at the beginning, or they can throw the yellow once to give the teams an opportunity to change tires. Traditionally, it would be if the race starts with dry tires and it starts raining in the middle, they will throw the yellow once. We saw that happen at Daytona, and in my opinion, it cost Chase Elliott an easy win. Of course, with the rain on ovals, they're not going to race with it actively raining. So the only scenario where rain tires currently would be running on the oval tracks would be once they've gotten the track dried to a point where they feel it's safe enough, and also it won't be actively raining. So it's going to be even if this happens and the testing actually goes well enough for it to happen, it seems like there's very limited scenarios where you're actually going to get cars running on the track in the wet on an oval track. Now, they did mention that places like Phoenix would be able to do this. So theoretically, you could have the championship decider be at Phoenix in the wet, or at least damp conditions. But it goes back to that strategy point. Will teams be able to make the decision to go to slick tires? Will NASCAR make that decision? Will they red flag the race and make everybody switch? Or will there actually be... How cool would it be if the championship came down to a tire choice by one of the teams going to slicks earlier than everybody else? And I think that would be cool. I think a lot of NASCAR fans probably would hate it, but I think that would be exciting. Now, we've probably already gotten a lot of comments about this. I probably should have talked about this earlier in the video. But this is not the first time that NASCAR has tested rain tires on oval tracks. In fact, it's not even the first time they've tried it at Martinsville. This is an article about the time, and the link will be in the description for this, written by NASCAR Man from Racing Reference, about the time that Terry Labonte ran rain tires at Martinsville in 1995. This is the choice quote from that, or the choice couple of quotes, I should say. With a steady drizzle falling, Labonte drove 6 laps in the wet at Martinsville. It was reported his top speed was around 70 miles per hour. By comparison, the pole speed at the track in April was 93 miles per hour. Labonte's lap was close to Fred Lorenzen's pole speed of 70.2 miles per hour back in April of 1961. Back in the garage, the former champion had a poor grade for the tires. He said, "It didn't feel as good as I thought it would. That's why those Formula One guys make so much money. I felt like I was on ice. I'd go into the corner, it wouldn't turn very good. I'd get in the throttle and think it wasn't bad, and then the back end would break loose." Now, of course, this is something that happened in 1995, and tire technology has moved quite a bit forwards since that happened. And it's also important to note that it was raining at the time that Labonte ran his laps, his 6 laps at Martinsville. What they're, of course, simulating tomorrow is a track that isn't actively being rained on, but is actively wet. So you've got a couple of different factors from that test in 1995, aside from the fact that it happened, God almighty, 25 years ago. Lord have mercy. Everything's getting old. I hate it. But I so I guess this is the thing. The Bristol dirt race in a lot of ways was a game changer, I think. Because while it wasn't the disaster I kind of worried it might be, I don't also think that it's something that's really going to. So when I use the word game changer, I don't think it was really the game changer in. I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of dirt tracks added to the NASCAR schedule. And in fact, I still believe that the dirt Bristol race is going to be a temporary thing. I don't think it's going to be around forever. I think they'll either find a different track to go to. It could be a dirt track, by the way. I'm not saying that it won't be a dirt track. But I think they will eventually move on from the dirt again. But what I think it did do, like I said at the beginning, was that it proved to NASCAR that they can run in less than ideal conditions, particularly with that visibility, and potentially pull it off. So from the perspective of rain, they are starting in a very safe position to do it at tracks like Martinsville, though Phoenix is a pretty fast track, and if they get further down the road here, if tomorrow's test goes well, how far could this go? Because we do know as well that Xfinity ran in pretty much a monsoon at the Roval, and most of that track is on the oval. Now the speeds were much lower than they would normally be if they were running the oval, but at the same time, I think the point remains: how far is this going to go? How far is NASCAR willing to push NASCAR oval racing in the rain? We'll have to wait and see. Of course, the comments section is always open for you guys to discuss this, talk about this, because how much of an effect do you think the dirt race had on this? I think it had a significant effect on this. What do you think about NASCAR beginning to experiment with these sorts of mixed condition racing types on ovals? And do you think it's actually going to work? Do you think NASCAR will be running rain oval races? It sounds like with Steve O'Donnell and what he said, it's going to be pretty soon if this is indeed something that's feasible. So let me know all of that stuff down in the comments section below. Busy month coming up. In fact, busy next couple of months coming up for this channel. I can't wait for you guys to see all the content. Thank you guys so much for watching. This has been David Land on YouTube, and I'll see you in the next video.